How's it going, everybody? I hope you're all having a good day. We're going to change it up in this video, and instead of going game hunting, we're going to check out some imports that I grabbed from eBay and one that I picked up from a buddy. Now, one of the nice things about imports in this day and age is that you can buy a copy of a game from any region of the world and then download a translation patch and play it in any language that you'd like to. This is a copy of Super Ultra Baseball 2. Now, this game was never released in America. Almost all the imports that I buy are games that just never came out in America. Now, there is a translation patch for this, but once you get into the actual game, you don't really need any translation, and if you have any questions about how it works, you can really just look it up online. There's quite a few menus before getting into the game that can actually be a little overwhelming. Super Ultra Baseball 2 was developed and published by Culture Brain and released in 1994 exclusively in Japan for the Super Famicom. The game is the fourth release in the Baseball Simulator series, which includes Baseball Simulator 1000 and Super Baseball Simulator 1000. Super Ultra Baseball 2 included a graphic overhaul for the series, which added larger and much more detailed sprites. For the most part, this is a straight-up baseball game containing 3 leagues, Sunny, Paradise, and Ultra, which each contains 6 playable teams. The players on the Ultra team each have a special ability when either pitching or batting. The abilities range from throwing a lightning ball, multiple balls, or swinging a missile hit. And next up is going to be in complete contrast about what I said for Super Ultra Baseball 2, because this game was actually released in North America. Now, I ended up winning this for $9, but there was a 10% off eBay code, so it came to just over $8. I should have picked this game up when it dipped a few years ago down to about $25 for a North American copy, but I never did. This is Final Fight 2, and I love pretty much the entire series, and I even beat the one on the PS2. Now, there's literally zero translation needed for this game, even less than Super Ultra Baseball 2. Even the menus of this game are in English. All you really do is walk to the right and beat up everything that stands in your way of walking to the right even more. Final Fight 2 was developed and published by Capcom and released in 1993 exclusively for the Super Nintendo. The game is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that includes 2-player simultaneous co-op, 3 unique playable characters, 6 heart-pounding levels, and many weapons, items, and food to find throughout. This sequel takes you out of Metro City playing as Carlos and Maki rather than Cody and Guy from the previous game. The 2 newcomers join Hagar as they fight their way around the world in places such as Hong Kong, France, and Japan in an attempt to rescue Maki's father and sister. The Final Fight series received another Super Nintendo exclusive sequel in 1996. And next up we have a game that I actually won in an auction back in November for $4, and I believe this actually had free shipping. Now, this game is a little more toasted than I thought it would be, but for $4 you really can't complain. This actually might be my favorite game of this entire video. This is the Violinist of Hameln. As you can see, this game is quite beat. And this game was actually published by Enix, who had some great games in the 90s, including one of my favorites on the Super Nintendo, which was called Robotrek. The graphics in this game are just beautiful, and the controls are really spot on, so if you're looking to check out some imports, pick this one up. The Violinist of Hameln was developed by published by Enix, and released in 1995 exclusively in Japan for the Super Famicom. The game is based on a manga that ran from 1991 to 2001. Hameln is a side-scrolling platformer that follows the main character Hamel, his sidekick Flute, and his companion Oboe. Everything is heavily inspired by music, including Hamel's main weapon, which is a violin that shoots musical notes. As you progress through the game, you will acquire multiple transformations for Flute, including an ostrich, a frog, a monkey, and a frisbee that will allow you to pass through various level hazards. And now for something a little different, here's a PC Engine game. Now, the PC Engine is the Japanese TurboGrafx, and this is a shoot-'em-up that's very quirky and bright and colorful. It really reminds me of Barunba, not necessarily in the mechanics of the game, but just the way that it looks. And I had been waiting for this game to be at about $10 before I picked it up, and it's always been just over about what I wanted to pay for it. This is an IREM shoot-'em-up called Mr. Heli, and I got this game for about $13 with the 10% off from eBay, so it came out to just under $12 shipped for this game, and that's exactly what I had been wanting to pay for it. And if you want to get into the PC Engine, just remember that the TurboGrafx, the Duo, and the Express are not natively region free, so you have to either mod it or get a converter to play the games. Mr. Heli, also known as Battle Chopper outside of Japan, was developed and published by IREM and released in 1987 for arcades and 1989 for PC and PC Engine. The game is a side-scrolling and vertical-scrolling shoot-'em-up where you control the titular chopper. Mr. Heli is able to shoot left, right, and up, as well as drop bombs below. While playing, you collect crystals to purchase upgrades that are hidden throughout levels. Much like the arcade version of Insector X, Mr. Heli uses a cartoon art direction, very bright colors, and an upbeat soundtrack to make the game appear much more comical than other shooters of its era. And lastly is a Famicom game called Lalla. Now, I bought this game from my buddy Samurai Sam, and it immediately stuck out to me when I saw it because of the color of the cart and then because of the art on the label. Now, the controls in this game do leave a lot to be desired, the turning especially, but it's a good game. It's another quirky game. It requires no translation. You can play all the way through, and I thought this game was pretty fun when I was playing it. Lalla was developed and published by DB Soft and released in 1986 exclusively in Japan for the Famicom. The game is a side-scrolling single-player maze action game that has Lalla exploring 8 asteroids. Each one has a boss waiting at the end and a shoot-'em-up segment in between to connect them together. Throughout the levels, you will acquire an arsenal of weapons that you are able to cycle through at will, including an axe, a machine gun, and grenades, as well as health items like ice cream and cake. The game is known for having one of the earliest instances of a female main character in video games, releasing right around the time of Metroid. So those are some of the imports that I've been playing through recently. In the next video, we'll get back to game hunting. The flea market's just opened and I got some pretty good footage for it. What have you picked up recently? What have you been playing, listening to, reading, all that stuff? Have you played any imports lately? Are there any that you want to try out? And are there any that I should pick up for the next episode? Thank you for watching, and as always, stay nerdy.
Getting your nerd on, getting your nerd on, getting your nerd on.
I got a raging nerd on.